Welcome back to Old Calvary, the St. Calixtus Division. This might not be the most inspiring entry gate, but they scraped this image off of the Wikipedia. There's the mighty Johnston Mausoleum before it got its bath. It looks very different now. And here they're talking about carving out new burial spots over at New Calvary, Third Calvary. And that's what used to be the administrative building. Today it's like a locker room for the groundskeepers. It's also where the bathroom is, most importantly. I was just remembering this for some reason. This crossed my mind that vases containing water are not allowed certain times of the year because of the reasonably credible theory that West Nile virus got its start in New York at the cemeteries. And this notice has been up here for years. But yeah, you shouldn't see any standing water out here during the summer months. This is probably a Dratty Brothers monument. And it probably looked, I'm sure it looked beautiful in its day, but marble doesn't hold up well to the elements. If you want to see what this thing looked like in its prime, you should go to St. Patrick's Cathedral and look for the pulpit. That's a marble structure that's been well taken care of. You can't even read the names here anymore. And it's ironic because these structures were the privilege of the wealthy, whereas over here you have what's called a zinker. And actually this is the only one I know of at Calvary. And these things are just solid gold for genealogists and tree tracers. But these were considered the poor man's mausoleum or the poor man's structure because they were so cheap. But as you can see, everything is as readable as you could expect for something that's been out here since the 1850s. That's the earliest death date I see. Oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the born date. Sorry. 1860s at least. And like I said, this is just like a wet dream for genealogists and such. See if there's anything on the back. Not even the location coordinates are crystal clear. Anyway, I'm going over to the chapel. That is my goal today, and then I'm going to go over to the new Kosciuszko. I guess it's not that new anymore. Some years ago, the conventional wisdom about New York City cemeteries is that there was no room left. But these folks are pretty clever about carving out space. on ground where presumably nobody's been making perpetual care payments. This is probably originally meant to be all this ground was probably owned by the Halloran family. I don't know anything about them, by the way. And similarly with the rest of these burials, they were probably all owned by others, but they can be pretty crafty about carving out new burial spots. Conventional wisdom today has changed altogether, and that there's plenty of room, but they don't do pre-need anymore. So if you want to get buried here, you got to hurry up and die. Looks like the stained glass is all gone. Oh, there's two doors here. So you can't see into the main area. You know, I always say that the Johnston Mausoleum is the biggest one out here. I guess it probably is, but some of these, like this one, might give the Johnston a run for its money. You know, as far as I know, last I heard, video recording on the grounds is not allowed. That was why I just cut recording, because the groundskeeper was rolling by. And the same seems to be true of other cemeteries around here. St. Michael's says there's no video allowed anywhere. That's why I try to be careful about not being witnessed. I'll bet you the chapel's going to be closed. And I'm going to stop recording because that guy can see me now. I didn't really expect the chapel to be open, and it's not. Their website used to have an announcement that it's closed, but they don't anymore, so it gave me some reason to think it might be open. Here's another mausoleum that might even rival the Johnston, at least on girth. Maybe not in height, I don't know. We'll have to see the specs. Kalinen or McAllinen, I don't know. I briefly had a thing for the discovery of all the stained glass that's out here. I read in, it might have been the Times, that there was more stained glass out here than in a lot of, all the churches combined or something like that. But I looked at one mausoleum after another and concluded that it was all kind of generic. There was one really beautiful one, though, in the mausoleum of a cigar magnate. That one was really beautiful, but unfortunately they boarded it up. They boarded up the door because the door came open or something. I don't know what happened exactly, but you can't see the glass anymore. That was the most unusual and distinctive one. But unfortunately it's off limits now. I think it was the last time I was out here, I was trying to find the name of the person who donated this. This is not a burial spot, at least I don't think it is. I couldn't find it, and I guess because these bushes were covering it up, but it was donated by Immaculata Sessa. I looked her up and found really nothing. It's like the marble markers, the marble monuments that become unreadable over time. It's like, who are these people that had so much money and presumably influence that nevertheless left no trace, no evidence in the public record? Of course, I mostly limit my searches on this sort of thing to the public internet, but I do get into commercial databases sometimes when I'm really intrigued. And there's like nobody here. I saw that motorcyclist roll by a little earlier, but there's just never anybody out here. Getting up close to those mausoleum windows like that to see the stained glass, that's the kind of thing that would get you kicked out of St. Michael's. I've never had any run-ins with security here, although I did get stared at once when I was out at New Calvary. Kind of scowled at. Somebody, I was out there collecting photos of the sepulchral portraits of portraits, I guess you'd say. I became kind of obsessed with those things after discovering them. So I was just going from one stone to another methodically, and that seemed to raise suspicions among one of the groundskeepers, who just stopped in his car and stared at me, but I acted all casual and just ignored him, and he went away. This is an interesting marker. It's fallen. It is sinking into the earth. I hear a lawnmower coming. I'll bet you this was a really beautiful thing to behold in its day when it was new. But not only is it sinking, but it's just worn. I can barely read the name. Looks like Connell or Conwell. Mary Frances Conwell. And then there's another similarly, oh, wait a minute, let me get this. There's another similarly succumbing to the forces of entropy. This one I don't think you can read at all. Looks very elaborate though. This probably had a metal fence around it, or some kind of barrier. This one looks interesting. Might be able to read this. It doesn't look like names though. Looks like a Bible verse or something. Such a shame that nobody really knows what this used to look like. Yeah, okay, now that I look at it again, Johnston is definitely king. If size is your thing, definitely bigger than those other two. But those other two are no log cabins. That's the Valley of the Mausoleums, home of some old Tammany Hall muckrakers, and one guy whose son died in Daytona Beach, which was random because my father lived in Daytona Beach. I spent a lot of time there. I don't make a lot of connections to Daytona Beach, but that's a strange one. I'm not going to go over to the Johnston today. So I have to get back home at a reasonable time. But if you remember the image of it from that poster on the front gate, you can see how different it looks now that they gave it a bath. So now I see a little bit of remnant of that brown color on the right side, to the right of the pillars. Maybe they didn't scrub it completely clean. I was really interested though to discover, it's on my website now, a YouTuber, the account was called Urbanist, I think. They stuck a little camera through the opening in the door, and they were able to get images of the inside. It was like seeing a ghost. It was pretty cool. Francis Owens, waiting for the Savior, God, Lord, Jesus Christ, who will, something the body of our longest? I don't know. Over here, this round marker is interesting. And I'm going to account this off the top of my head, having not looked it up recently, but this individual was responsible for, was it the Verrazano? The Verrazano Narrows? John LaCourte. If it wasn't the Verrazano, it was one of the major bridges around here. Better world builders. There's some bird poop on the back, that's nice. I just looked it up. John N. LaCourte was responsible for the naming of the Verrazano Bridge, not the building of it, but and it's been kind of a running joke ever since, because they spelled it wrong. They spelled Verrazano wrong. Oh, I see a tractor up ahead. I don't know if you can see that, but I guess there's a burial going on, or will be going on. Always been kind of amazed how nobody has stolen this. It's been here for years. I went up onto the new Kosciuszko the first day that it opened, and the first full day. I wasn't there for the grand opening, where I think they had fireworks and stuff. But a funny thing happened. There was kind of a festive atmosphere up there for the opening, and this guy asked me to take a picture of him with a friend of his. So I did that. He handed me his iPhone, and on a hunch, when I got home, I got onto Instagram and looked up the Kosciuszko hashtag, and sure enough, that picture I took of the dude was there. With no credit to me, but he didn't ask my name, and I don't care. Oh, this is a little awkward. I seem to have... Oh. I was about to say I lost my mask, and then I realized it's on my face. Well, duh. I mean, I don't really feel a need to wear it when I'm out in a space like this, but some of the groundskeepers were rolling by in their trucks. So I put it on, and then just... That was funny. Maybe you had to be here for that, but it was funny. I would think maybe this is somebody learning to drive a truck. I tell you what, man, access to this pedestrian path is really, really gnarly. You're not really seeing it now, but trucks just come barreling through this area. And they're not looking for people, you know. You're a toothpick compared to those guys. The graffiti didn't take long, did it? It's like all the way up as far as it can be. Yeah. Definitely getting lucky on the lack of aggressive traffic. It's very common to experience that up here. first thing I noticed about this was how strange it feels to be on a path like that is actually designed with pedestrian and bikes coexisting. Most of the bridges don't have that around here. That is, I think, part of the Williamsburg Bridge. Either the Williamsburg or the Manhattan Bridge has a partial section where the bikes are on one side and everyone else is on the other. But the only other bridge I've been on that is designed with coexistence in mind was the Golden Gate. That's the only bridge I can think of that had totally separate paths. And they're supposed to be, but they are finally supposed to be opening one of the lanes on the Edcotch Queensboro. They're going to reserve the south lane on the lower level for pedestrians and the other for bikes, because that stretch of walkway is scary sometimes, the way the bikes just come barreling down at 50 miles an hour. I don't mean to keep reusing that word, but of course the most spectacular thing about this new walkway is the incredible view of Old Calvary. I'd seen this before, but it's just in passing, like when I was driving over or on the B-24 bus. But you only see it for a few seconds, really. This is the real prize, the real reward of this new bridge. So it connects you to Greenpoint. It connects Woodside to Greenpoint. And it's kind of one unremarkable area connected to another unremarkable area. Not that really matters, but the wider, I think there were more lanes, and this was supposed to solve the traffic problems that plagued the old bridge, but as you can see, traffic isn't exactly buzzing along. In fact, it was like that since day one. I don't think it really solved any of the congestion problems. There's really no way to do that. You don't solve congestion problems by building more roads. Just ask Robert Moses. As you can also see, I'm the only person up here on this path. There are no you won't find any payphones up here, but as I wrote on one of my websites, I'm going to wait for the wind to slow down. Yes, as I wrote on one of my websites, there were no phones whatsoever up here when this bridge opened, and I think it might have been a few months before they finally put in emergency 911 call boxes. And there's one of them up ahead. I don't think this graded fence was here before. wonder why they would go to the trouble. There up ahead you can see one of the solar power call boxes. But for a few months, if you were stuck up here, you were stuck up here. I guess this is an access point for them. Gate that opens. And of course I don't mess with these call boxes anymore, since learning that simply opening the cabinet is enough to set off an alarm at the precinct or wherever. Couple more people. Pretty empty up here though. I don't know if those railroad tracks are still active. That's Newtown Creek. There used to be a ferry that brought people into Calvary, and I think it docked right around here. Or actually, it was probably over by the other end. They also had no garbage cans up here at first. They made up for that with what seems like kind of an absurd quantity. I should add that I can't see the screen really at all, but I think I'm getting what I think I'm getting. It's kind of like I used to have on my storage locker. Beautiful Newtown Creek. machine is pretty cool from back earlier. It's like it's picking up giant stuffed animals out of a claw machine. Made it. Welcome to beautiful Greenpoint. As you can see, there's really nothing here. Unless you consider this a destination, this open space with a bunch of cinder blocks. Very decorative. The benches are a nice touch. I gotta stop because the battery's almost dead. We're back, but I will say that compared to other bridges around here, this one feels like solid ground. I don't sense any real shaking or vibration like you get on the Ed Koch Queensboro or the RFK Triborough. Of course, traffic isn't exactly roaring along, but still, this feels like solid ground. There's a lot of stink coming from I don't know where. I remember from last time though, so I guess it comes from some of these construction or demolition sites. But if you're not scared to get here, by that I mean that actually getting to the bridge can be pretty hairy, but once you get past that, this is a pretty nice walk. Getting a little more of this because the claw machine is so cool.